Last week, the Gratton Cup Series made its first ever trip to Austin, Texas, and the circuit of the Americas. And it was Henry Gore who was able to stretch the fuel and go the distance on 2 stops only and get the biggest win of his career, the biggest ever victory in terms of margin in the Gratton Cup Series. Well, we remain in the state today and we go to Fort Worth, Texas, and the Texas Motor Speedway here for the Wurth 400. 67 laps of action coming your way this afternoon here for the Gratton Cup Series 2025-2026. Hello everybody and welcome to Race 4 of the 2025-26 Gratton Cup Series. Race 4 of 30 here at the Texas Motor Speedway, as mentioned before, the Wurth 400. Going back to the old length of 67 laps for this race. Previously we've run it at 84, but it is going to be 67 laps in this race, about 100 miles in length, and it's at the repave's been around for a fair old while now, but this racetrack races a fair bit better, I think it's fair to say, a bit better in NR2003 than it does in real life, and this race is usually quite entertaining. And second part of our Texas doubleheader, I suppose, as we had, of course, the race at COTA last week, which was won by Henry Gore, his first race win in 68 races. He comes in with the championship lead for the first time in his career. So, my name is Stuart Gratton. I've got, a guy who's won a lot of races as a team owner, 32 of them in the Cup Series, second most winningest owner in Cup Series history. Isaac Nichols joining me here in the booth today. And Isaac, we talked about Texas Motor Speedway. It is a fun racetrack, and it's not, I wouldn't say it's impossible to go from the back to the front, but a lot of the times in races, and I actually did a bit of research on this, only once has a driver started outside the top 10 and ever won on the channel at Texas, and that was when driving for your team, Patrick Schamberger, won from 24th back in Season 3. So it's a hard thing to do, but this racetrack is quite a fun racetrack.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Texas, it's very high speed. You've got to really be careful on those tires and make sure you can make it the whole way. With it being a shorter length, I think it will be a little bit more of leeway on that fact, but you still don't want to use up your stuff too early. But yeah, that's an interesting fact about the top 10 being the only ones apart from that one exception. And I'd be happy to boast about that, but I'll keep myself reserved.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
I've always loved, these sorts of tracks where, there's a bit of strategy involved, there's a bit of saving, and I reckon it'll be a fun race.
Yeah, absolutely. It will be very interesting because it is a 2-stop race. And unlike the 500 mile, or the 125, the 84 lap race we ran in Season 5, for example, and the SORL and the GRL in the last couple of years, there will be a lot of strategy in that second pit stop. If this thing goes green to the end, we might see some guys take 2 tyres. We might see some guys just go for fuel only. So a bit of strategy that may come into play. But then, of course, as well, there's also a chance that we get some yellows. And this is a racetrack where, these accidents can be quite severe. I think it'd be fair to say. Particularly out of turn 4 seems to be the main trouble spot here, at least on this Texas. So it'll be something to keep an eye on as this race goes along. Of course, 67 laps, as we mentioned. And the championship stands coming to this race were completely thrown out of kilter on the back of what happened at COTA, with a lot of the field being shuffled around. You see them on your screen right now, the top 10 in points on your screen right now. Henry Gore, I mentioned that win last week, his first win in 68 races. He's also won here back in the SORL a couple of years ago. He comes in with a 24-point lead, and that's a very handy lead after 3 races, it's fair to say, over Eli Bright, which is a bit of a surprise, but he's been relatively consistent this year. He's finished in 12th twice and 8th at COTA last week, so he's now second in the points, 24 back. And then from that point onwards, it's pretty close. Dawson Miller is 32 back in the number 48. Noah Clifton, who's finished 5th in the last 2 weeks, he's 34 back. Charlie Davenport comes into this race 5th in points as well, 34 back, like Clifton. Tyson Gifford finished 2nd last week, also like his teammate Henry Gore, stretched the fuel. He is 6th in points, 35 back. Kelly Lee, 35 back as well in the 76. Tristan Allen, the reigning Cup champion and the defending winner of this race, he's 8th in points, 36 back. And then Travis Crampton and Brandon Bent, of course, Crampton, the 500 winner from earlier in the year, Brandon Bent, the 2-time series champion, are 38 points back each. So it is a handy buffer for the 71 to have, but of course there are still 27 races to go in this season, so there is still a lot of time for things to change in that regard. We'll go through the starting lineup now and run through the top 20, and then you'll see the whole starting grid on the left side of your screen. Alexander Rowe in the number 51, who was running on track for a top 5 before a tyre failure ruined his race at Coda. He starts on the pole in the number 51. And he's got Dawson Miller starting alongside in the number 48, who comes into this race, as we mentioned, 3rd in points. Colin Denton desperately needs a good run in car 21 for DW Motorsports. He comes in 40th in points in that 21. It's been a tough start to the year for him. Tristan Allen, who led the most laps last week, he starts 4th. Of course, he won this race in Season 5 and is the reigning Cup champion. Jaron in the 99, great qualifying for Oren. Finished 3rd at Atlanta a couple of weeks ago. Dominic Anthony won this race back in Season 2. That was his first ever Cup Series win. He starts 6th today. Christian Vargas, great qualifying from Vargas in the 36. He starts from 7th today. Duncan Ward as well in the 54 for Team Velocitar, starting up inside the top 10, starting from the 8th position today, and they're ready at the top 10. Well, the 2 drivers that finished 1-2 last week. Tyson Gifford in the number 7 and his teammate / the guy who drives for him, Henry Gore, who is the championship leader, as we talked about, 24 points to the good currently on the back of that win last week. Jake Rogers in the number 40. That's actually not a great angle. Jake Rogers, number 40, will start from the 11th position. Kian Rowley in the number 10 will start from the 12th position, pole sitter from last week. It's 7 Motor teammates, Nicholas Samadeo and Nathan Smith, that make up row 7. Benny Watson, the Atlanta winner, the number 96. He starts from the 15th position alongside Julio Cesar in the 26, your man, Isaac. And then Richard Fridge in the number 20. Brandon Bent in the number 27, the 2-time series champion, starts 18th. And then Max Davis and the 92 of Braden Perez make up the top 20. And the cars are getting ready to fire up here at the Texas Motor Speedway. We'll get the cars to roll off with thanks to Budget Car and Truck Rental. You see the starting lineup on the left side of your screen, the full field of 42, ready to tackle the Texas Motor Speedway. And Isaac mentioned before that statistic about top 10. You start inside the top 10, serves you pretty well here at the Texas Motor Speedway. Only once, we mentioned before, only once as a driver started outside the top 10 and won. So it bodes well for any of these guys starting up towards the front, but I'll hand it over to you now. Who do you think is going to win the Wurth 400 here at the Texas Motor Speedway?
Well, I was thinking those Gifford Technologies cars definitely seem to be pretty quick at the moment, and obviously getting the pole is pretty good, but I'm looking a little bit further back and still within that top 10, that's number 7 of Tyson Gifford, team owner of GTI. I think he will be looking to see if he can still show that he's a good enough driver to be in this field.
3-time race winner in the Cup Series, makes his return to the series. And hey, 2nd place last week, very impressive run. Of course, a bit of strategy was involved in that, but got to be able to make the fuel last in that regard. And 16 points coming into today. Would love to get another race win. He's got all of his cars starting inside the top 10 as well, so keep an eye on the GTI Chevrolets. Pace cars on pit road. And here we go, we're underway. Texas Motor Speedway, green flags in the air for race 4 of the Gratton Cup Series. come around to complete the first lap. And how about Colin Denton taking the lead away in the 21? Talked about he's had a really rough start to the season. He's taken the lead early on. Something happened to Jared Oren as well, the 99. He got checked up there in turns 1 and 2. I'm not sure if there was a problem or what happened there, or maybe just had to back out of it a little bit. But seems like he's okay. He's back up to speed, but held all those guys back a little bit, and that allowed someone like a Tristan Allen, for example, to get down to the inside. And your man, Dawson Miller, is also worked his way around the 51. He's up to second, but under a lot of pressure here from the 14 of Allen. And he's going to poke his way down to the inside on the number 14. Can he get the run through turns 1 and 2? He cannot. Miller's going to hold him off on that outside lane.
Well, that outside is definitely looking a bit stronger than we first might have expected. The outside is always usually a bit tricky on the race starts, and obviously that checkup was lots to do with the front being able to do that. But yeah, these DW Motorsports cars look very quick at the moment. Tristan Allen being able to get past Miller and not able to clear him just yet, but this is definitely looking good for DW Motorsports. Tristan Allen taking that second spot. Colin Denton, good to see him have a good run just for at least the start of this race, and now he's got his teammate to maybe give himself a bit of a buffer, but Allen may be looking to take that lead away, even though the teammates, they're still vying out for a win here and really wanting to show who the dominant driver of the team is early on in the season.
Here comes Tristan Allen down to the inside. That race that he won, he gets around the 21 there of Denton, who clears. He just saw he checked up a little bit there out of turn 4. They are susceptible to that here at Texas, where they can check up out of turn 4. It's something to keep in mind, as well as the tri-oval. You got Rowe back to the inside of Miller. Well, I was going to say there, Tristan Allen, that he won that race back in season 5, and he actually led 68 laps that day. Started from the pole. So he certainly knows how to win at this racetrack, and here he is out in front. Early stages, Rowe up to second, Miller to follow through, should be able to get past the 21, and now he does, and Jared Oren run the game. Oren, very impressive run at Atlanta, finished third in that race, and was outside the top 10 for much of the day, and yet his form at the end was sensational. Really worked his way forward. If there were a couple more laps, he probably would have won the race, given how fast he was, and closing in on Jake Rogers and Benny Watson, who were competing for the win. Just want to give a shout out to Christian Vargas here in the 36, who hasn't had a great career in the Cup Series, it should be said, but qualified 7th and got his way within this front group at the start of the race. He's got his best opportunity here in the Cup Series. He hasn't had a great year to start, but he's got his best opportunity, probably in the best car he's ever driven. And he's running quite well inside the top 10, although he's under attack here from Benny Watson, the 96, the Atlanta winner, who in the other two races finished 35th and 37th respectively. So he would just like to claw back as much ground as he possibly can. He's already 61 points behind Henry Gore, who in the 71 is up to the 9th position.
We're seeing a lot of cars in this top 10 or so that have had not the best starts to their seasons, but are still showing pace. And this is our first sort of good look at and see who is going to have the pace throughout this season. Like 2 of the first 3 races here haven't been on your standard sort of speedway, and haven't really been able to see the informed drivers for the season.
It's been a bit jumbled up, as we mentioned with Gore. I mean, he's been able to finish, he's the only driver to finish top 10 in each of the first 3 races. I mean, it does make a difference. You look at someone like Miller, as we've got a change for the lead going on. There's Alexander Rowe, the pole sitter, trying to retake the lead here in the number 51. He might get a bit of assistance here from Dawson Miller. Behind him, he's not going to get that assistance just yet. But the 51 might be able to get this one done. But, you look at Rowe, for example, and Dawson Miller, Coda's kind of an outlier. Miller had that suspension issue that sent him to the back of the field in qualifying. He started last in that race, finished 26th. And Alexander Rowe was running top 3, top 5 until he had that tyre issue that dropped him all the way down to eventually 39th. So you look at the 51, you look at the 48, they're going to be competitive. Alan's had we talked about it at Coda a bit. He's had a tough start to the season. Was really slow at Daytona, actually, and dropped a long way back in that race, and didn't have the pace at Atlanta, so it just hasn't quite been the start of the year he would have wanted. But now Miller with a run to the inside of Rowe here, and he's going to try and take this lead away. And I'll tell you what, this guy is flying at the moment. Benny Watson, the 96, he was very quick at Atlanta, talked about it, led quite a few laps and won the race, of course. He also won the GRL race here earlier in the calendar year, won it back in April. So keep an eye on the 96 as the day goes along. But top 5 are kind of broken away as Miller continues to work side by side with Alexander Rowe. And this time he should get the run through turn 4, and the 48 hits the front here at Texas.
We're definitely seeing a lot of passing. And once again, just washing up the track in turn 1. That inside doesn't seem to get that good of a run in 1 and 2. Miller able to clear Allen once again. And yeah, Benny Watson knocking on the bumper of Tristan Allen. He's got a lot of speed in that car, and honestly could be one of the fastest car on the track at the moment, and just sort of biding his time, waiting through the front of this field with Allen. Once again going for that inside, just not working out. That was so close between him and Watson. That could have ended very badly.
It's a bold idea to go to the outside for the 96, but he's going to try and make it work. You've got to run to the outside there of Allen. And this 96 trying to work the high lane. This car very quick off the start. There's no doubt about that. It's gotten into the race very well because he's worked his way past a whole heap of cars. And you saw there, he just dropped a bit of speed through the tri-oval then, and that's dropped him a bit of, well, not even really tri-oval. It's kind of like the dog leg, isn't it? It's dropped back
maybe
a little
like
bit.
A quad oval.
Yeah, quad oval. So yeah, just dropped back there a little bit. Lost a bit of ground to the 51 and the 14, but Miller out in front here in the 48, and we didn't really talk about it actually as Tyson Gifford's actually dropped all the way to the back.
Oh wow!
No, it's just
all the way to the back.
He's just dropped all the way to last. So there you go. What I want to mention is there he is, Eli Bright. This is the man who's second in points coming into this race, which it was kind of a surprise to me when I saw post race that he was actually second in the championship last week at Coda, because for his He's had a good season. He's had a very good season, but it's more on the back of consistency. It's not on the back of like outright speed that say the 96 has had. So it's a fascinating one. But you look at someone like him, Aguirre is he's doing a good job. But for someone like Dawson, or even Tristan Allen is Tristan Allen's 36 back, Miller's 32. I mean, these guys won't be that far away if they can get a win. They won't be that far off the 71 in points. Of course, still a long way to go as Allen tries to go to the inside. Probably a bit too low there on the inside. And these are the 4 at the moment that I'm looking at as the ones to beat. Obviously, Miller, Allen, Rowe, and Watson look like they've got the fastest cars. Colin Denton's dropped back a bit here in 5th. Jared Oren in 6th. Jake Rogers just slowly chipping away in the number 40. He started a bit further behind his teammate. He's now ahead of him. He is now 7th. There's Gwart in 8th. Christian Vargas and Duncan Ward's still doing a good job here inside the top 10 in the number 54 for Velocity. For second straight week, Daniel Paulus Jr. missed the race. So frustration there with the 63, but the 54's running quite well. Max Davis is 11th. Matthew Hubert is 12th. Hubert had a disappointing week last week, I think it'd be fair to say, at Coda, but he's 11th in points coming into this race, and he's had a good start to the season, and so have Hairgel Motorsports. Davis needs to bounce back. He had issue at Texas, had that pit road gremlin in the race, and that sent him to the rear of the field, and he's now on the cusp of that top 35. How about Logan Williams doing a fairly good job here, ahead of a couple of guys that are very fast, Brandon Bent, Dominic Anthony, they're 14th and 15th. Ludovic Charette doing a good job in 16th at the moment in the 23. Nicholas Samadeo in the 45, 17th. Addison Steinbach, Kelly Lee. And then you've got a battle here, Kian Raleigh with Jack Haas. Actually, it's funny you look at it, Isaac. You guys are actually kind of struggling at the moment outside of Dawson, who is still leading the race, by the way. Raleigh is 21st, Caesar's 22nd, And there's Noah Clifton. He's also, on the cusp of falling outside the top 25. It's been a weird start for you guys.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think we're just going to have to see how it all plays out. Could just be a bit of saving. Yeah, but all our money is sort of on Dawson for this race at the moment, who's actually getting overtaken right now as I say that. Yeah, it's been a little bit of a rough start to the season, shall we say. Even though we have 2 drivers in the top 5 in points, it's been definitely very mixed.
It certainly has. It has been a very mixed start to the season, and I mean, again, outside the 71, it's really been a jumble of the 3 races so far. But of course, there are so many intermediate speedways on this schedule this year. It makes a big, these guys up here are probably going to be the guys that are going to be up here in terms of the championship, you'd think, as well. As you saw that, Tristan Allen got past Dawson Miller and took the lead away. Benny Watson followed through as well, worked his way up to second. And then Miller, and then Alexander Rowe. This is the thing about Alexander Rowe. It doesn't look like, because this is just based on what I saw at Atlanta. He dropped off at the end of the run, which was kind of fascinating to think about, because that's where he was so good in Season 5. But he dropped off at the end of the run at Atlanta, and it looks like he just doesn't have as fast a race car as these tyres wear out. You see the run that Miller got there through the centre of the turn, and he's going to have a crack potentially on the back here of the 96 of Watson. He's not quite close enough, but these guys are doing a very good job, and Denton's not that far away either, it should be said as well. So the 21's doing this will go a long way for Colin Denton. The only bad news is that Max Davis, who's 35th in points, is also running top 10 currently, so that's not going to help him that much. And Logan Williams is also, I talked about Logan, he's doing a decent job, although he's lost a couple of positions. So it'll be interesting to see how that top 35 battle plays out for the rest of the year. As Miller once again has a look to the inside of the 96 of Watson. And the one other thing that we should not forget is that pit stops we're closing in on, because it's about a 30-lap run. Clean and green run, I should say. It's about 30 laps. So we're approaching that kind of first pit stop.
Yeah, we'll have to see what teams are thinking about in terms of, are we going to stay out a bit longer? Are we going to short pit? The undercut is usually a pretty popular strategy in terms of gaining a track position early on and having to try and defend sort of later on in the stint. And at a track like here, where passing is honestly pretty common, at least in the top 5, they've been sort of exchanging positions a lot. It could be something to think about, whether you want fresher tyres at the end of each run.
No doubt about it, and especially when it comes down to that second pit stop as well. Do you want to take the 2 fresh tyres if this thing goes green all the way, or do you want to just go fuel only and kind of hedge your bets on that? This is a big battle back in here as well. This is the back half of the top 10, bottom of the top 10. Max Davis is up to 9th. Vargas, and you've got Brandon Betts worked his way quite well up here. You've got Anthony, and you've got Steinbach that have also worked their way forward quite a bit as well. Steinbach's been, outside of Daytona, where he was very, very dominant in the dual race, he really hasn't quite performed to the level that I think he and the team would have hoped for. But it's probably his best run so far at the moment, just outside that top 10. Brandon Bent as well. And these guys are a long way off as well. They're nearly 6. Vargas is over 6 seconds off the lead. It just goes to show, these guys, and Tristan Allen in particular, looks very, very speedy. But these guys are going at a very, very good pace. And Rowe has actually just got around Miller while all that was going on as well. So these guys are still going at a pretty good speed. And here comes Dawson. Dawson's going to be the first in. Now, the other thing I will say, you've got to be careful entering pit road, because obviously things can happen. You don't want to be getting involved in an incident on getting onto pit road, but the more likely thing that we might see is actually on pit road itself, where guys are coming in and out of their pit stalls, and that can be quite an issue here at this racetrack. So keep an eye on that. We'll see what kind of impacts the stops have. Is that
Absolutely,
John?
I think.
No,
Ooh,
sorry,
is he?
I'm not sure if John Andrews got a problem or not. He's got an engine
Oh, yes, he
failure, so
does.
that's a shame. Also, Brent Perez has had an engine failure at some point, and he is out of the race. That's a tough break for the 92 as our leaders come in. And Brandon Bent has stayed out in the 27, so he's running long. Same with Logan Williams, Duncan Ward. There's Dawson. He is done with his stop in the 48, so we'll see. The one thing he does not want at the moment is a yellow, given that he's now effectively a lap down. Looks like Rogers gained a bit of ground on Denton. There's the.
I think there's one thing that's interesting to note. Look at how many laps in we're at the moment. We're getting very close to halfway. I'm wondering if there are some drivers who are thinking they can maybe even get to that halfway point and try and stretch it out for a one-stop.
Well, there's one example. Maybe Thomas Troxel trying to do that in the 62, but I'll tell you what, Benny Watson's team just had a rocket ship stop because he has launched himself in front of Tristan Allen, although he may not have the effective race lead, because here comes Dawson Miller with a head of steam.
Wow.
He was closing in there on Caleb Rose at the same time, and that could have been very, very nasty, but he weaved his way through quite well, and Miller effectively the leader of the race. Tristan Allen's dropped back to third. Looks like Eli Bright's had a issue. Looks like he's got left side damage, so he might have been one of those guys that had a pit road gremlin. We talked about that before. And got involved in a collision on pit road. So they haven't quite cycled through as of yet, but the 48 will be the leader here at the Texas Motor Speedway. Alexander Rowe dropped back on his stop, didn't he? He dropped a lot of ground. Now, just ahead of his teammate Henry Gore and Jared Oren, you got Matthew Hubert and Max Davis battling for position, two rookies there. And there's where Brandon Bent popped out. So, the 27, a long way down the order still. Thomas Troxel was the leader of the lap, but he's not the race leader anymore because Dawson Miller has got past him. Because the 62, of course, is still on pit road. So he now leads in the 48 from Benny Watson. Tristan Allen is up to, or drops back to third, I should say. Then it's Denton. Jake Rogers has worked his way into the top 5. So a nice run going here for him and for Premier Racing Motorsports. Had a tough week last week at Coda as well. Very quietly finished, I want to say 29th, I think, from the top of my head. And it's not the position he wanted to be running in consistently. So disappointing for him last week, but he's doing a good job today. There's Rowe, he's 6th. Oren is 7th. Gore, Hubert, and Davis now the top 10. And the 98s of Anderson Steinbach right there, as you see Davis with a run. Continuing this good battle here with Matthew Hubert, and this time Davis gets past the number 8 and up into the 9th position. Vargas back in there, and definitely a pit road problem for the 95. So that's a tough break. Talked about Bright ad nauseum about, he's had a consistent season. Well, that puts an end to that, to be honest. You got Vargas back in here. He is 12th. There's Bent. He's 13th. Jack Haas is running quite well here in the 00. He's 14th at the moment, ahead of Nathan Smith, Kelly Lee. Dominic Anthony has struggled a bit in this race. He's 17th at the moment. Duncan Ward's had a bad pit stop because he's dropped back. And there's a bit of a hornet's nest back in here. You've got Rogel Dawn ahead of Clifton, and you've got Caesar, both of whom trying to work their way past two Hairgel Chevrolets of San Vitale and Davenport. And Davenport as well, also having not a great day for a guy who's top 5 in points coming in. You've got Samadio, you've got Charette, Kean Raleigh back in there. Raleigh currently 26th. Logan Williams dropped a lot of ground on pit road, so he may have had something, and may have got involved somewhere. Roberto Crown Jr. is 28th. Travis Crampton is 29th. He's really struggled in this race for a guy that ran pretty well at Atlanta. Richard Fridge as well is also way down the order, and there's your pick to win. Tyson Gifford really struggling here in this race in the number 7. He's now outside the top 30 because Trucks is 31st, Gifford 32nd. Got Eric Monaco, Will Parrish, Leonard Koshma, the Daytona 500 pole sitter. Bryce Egan back in there, Caleb Rose, those two ran long. Alejandro Cruz, Kyla Sustre. And we go all the way back around here, and we missed a fair bit because, well, actually not as much, because I guess they kept the top 3, but Watson was having a lunge there to the inside of Miller, has to back out of it, and now Allen trying to get the run on the outside.
He's trying to get that run out of turn 4. He's gone a little bit more outside than Watson, and now he looks to the inside, but he may need to check up a little bit on this inside. No, he's going to be able to hold it pretty strong. They're still side by side, and Watson's able to clear him again.
It's interesting. I did not expect the inside lane to struggle as much as what we've seen in this race. Especially, it seems like the middle, kind of like turn 2 in particular, is where they really check up. They lose a bit of grip and they have to slow themselves down a little bit. But Dawson Miller doing a very good job in this race, the 48. Honda, of course, have never won a Cup Series race. Would like to change that today. Of course, this is only their 4th start as a OEM, so it's not like they've been around particularly long, but we'd love to get that first win. Watson would love to get a second win on the season, on the back of course, what happened in Atlanta and the two results. It just gained some ground in this championship race. Battles on back here. Colin Denton is back up to 4th. Rogers actually got around him, but has lost that position since. And Alexander Rowe back into the top 5 as well. There's Oren, there's Gore. So Gore's 8th at the moment. That's still, pretty good run. Still a solid day, top 10, and especially with, the 48's leading the race. So that's not going to do Gore any favours, of course. But with Bright down the order, it's still, I think, probably make a gain off the top of my head in terms of the championship. It's still got, 25 to go now. And it really looks like it's going to, unless somebody like a Troxel or a Bryce Egan or a Caleb Rose who stayed out long could pull something out of the hat and go one stop. It looks like it'll come down to these 3 guys, Miller, Watson and Allen, for the win.
These have been honestly the standout performers so far in this race, and yeah, apart from those, I think it was both Pacific Racing cars that stayed out long. We'll have to see where they end up, but yeah, these are definitely the 3 to watch for this race win at the moment. Allen once again trying to have a peek at Watson.
He got into him. He got into him that time. He properly got into the left rear of the 96 and said, "Hello, I am there. I will try and make an overtake if you're not careful." So, 14.
And with how long Allen's been behind Watson, he may be starting to get a little bit impatient here, and yeah, he's lost a bit of time with that little bumper contact as well. So you'll have to regroup, regather, and try and work out this a different way.
Oh, look at the run that Watson got on Miller. He's going to peek down to the inside, and here he goes to the inside for the lead, although it looks like he's gotten in way too shallow. Not a lot of grip down there, and so the 48 with that run on the outside is going to once again clear and hold them off for the lead. And I think the other thing with Allen as well, I think there'd be a bit of frustration on the pit stop too, because it's one thing with Dawson, he was able to undercut. That's one thing. Watson, the 96 team, had a faster pit stop and jumped the 14 on pit road. So, Allen probably feels like, he's probably got the fastest race car at the moment, but he just cannot find a way around the 96. If he can get around the 96, then maybe he's got the speed and can find a place to get around the 48. Just quietly as well, they're dropping the field behind them. They're now nearly 4 seconds behind. Alexander Rowe is back up to 4th. He's got around Denton. This is still a very good run for Colin Denton. He really needs this run, this result, after the terrible start to the year he's had. But these guys are a long way. Those guys are a long way ahead. Davis is in 9th. Brandon Bent's here on the inside of Steinbach. Let's respond to the top 10. I'd say Max Davis is doing a fairly good job here in car 6 as well. I think all things considered. Now, I think he's doing a fairly good job because, maybe doesn't have the speed of the guys in front, but he's certainly got enough race pace to drop away from Hubert, for example. He's really put a big gap between himself and the 8. So, keep an eye on this 6. Hasn't had he's a bit further down in the points he would have liked. Same with Denton, but might be able to make some noise as the year goes along. Watson with another challenge. But once again, just cannot get the run through 1 and 2 there. Although he's got Allen pushing him. He's going to try and have a look to the inside. Miller shuts the door into turn 3.
Even with a bit of help from Allen, Watson just not able to get that inside going. And Miller's doing, honestly, a really good job placing his car where he needs to keep this lead. It's quite evident that the two cars behind him are starting to eke out in pace, and it could be a little bit of, you know, slightly fresher tires one lap earlier on the pit stop, and he's just able to sort of, you know, pull away for a little bit. They'll come back at him, and every time they come back, he's just able to keep them at bay, and it's quite impressive to see. I guess that inside not really working as how we expected also is really working into his favour.
He's done a very good job holding them all at bay. And that strategy call has worked out quite well for the 48 to come in the lap earlier. It has worked out quite well, but maybe not for long, because he got a terrible run through turn 4, and here we go. 96 is going to have another peek to the inside, you'd think. Oh, he's there. He does go to the inside now. So Watson with another crack to the inside of Miller for the lead. But once again, the inside lane just not quite working out. So, this is really not what I mean, you do all these tests to, try and put together the best possible racetrack, and then a race like this happens, where it's something that you don't expect to have happen. Inside lane not working at all, and Miller doing a very, very good job in this 48. Just to get the car runs quite well on the outside. But and as a result, able to hold these guys at bay. The other thing you got to note, as we've got 15 to go now in this race, Allen once again pressing onto the back of Watson, and this time he's going to have a peek down to the inside. This is where you'll probably want to make your move into turns 3 and 4. Oh, Watson wanted to close the door. Allen, I think he's got him this time. I think he's going to get past the 96. Side by side, and Allen, Watson will have to relinquish that spot. So Tristan Allen back up to second. Number 14, does he have anything here for the 48? Watson trying to run the high lane. Not quite going to pay off here, so the 14 should clear. The thing I want to say, it's not going to clear just yet. Watson's going to fight it back. But, with now under 15 to go, if you're going to take 2 tires, you're going to be coming in any moment, really. We'll see what kind of strategy these guys pull. But Allen's finally cleared. He's up to second. Can he do anything about the 48? Or is Watson going to fight it back here into turn 1? He's got a big run out of 4. And here he goes into turn 1.
Once again, turn 1 and 2 just not giving the grip that Watson really wants to make that move done. And Allen really took the best opportunity that he had to pass Watson and took it really well. I think... yeah, that overtake was really his best run on Watson and made the most of that opportunity, and now he's looking to get to the back of that number 48 and see if he can do something to take the lead here in these final stages.
Watson got a great run through turn 2. He's not going to be close enough to have a look at the 14, but I reckon Watson's car is much better on the exit of the turn than it is on the entry or through the center. I think it's very, very interesting to see how fast that he can get some really good runs out of the exit, but he just can't quite get the run into on the entry of the corner, and so he ends up having to drop in behind. He lost that position to Allen. But these guys still within half a second. I mean, this is the thing. It's only half a second between these 3 guys, so be interesting with the strategy as to who does what and when do they come in, because they'll be coming in. Pit will be imminent. It's just a matter of when do you pit and what do you do. But it's been a clean and green race here at the Texas Motor Speedway, and one other thing about that stat about top 10 drivers and how they typically win here at Texas, a lot of the times they actually start on the front row as well. A lot of times drivers start on the pole, or one other case started second. I reckon it's about half of those races drivers on the front row has actually won. Dawson Miller started second in this race, so he's in a very good position at the moment to continue that kind of form in that 48 with the front row starts. We've got under 10 to go. Miller leads from Allen and Watson, and they are a long way up the road as Jared Oren has pitted. So he's the first one to blink here in the 99, and he is going to take 2 right sides. So we'll see if that pays off for him. Yeah, it looks like he might be the only one on pit road, at least for the moment. Let's see if any of these guys bite. Let's see, is 48 going to come in? He's going to run it long. 4 down. They're all going to run it long for the time being, coming to 8 to go this time. So Miller still out in front from Allen and Watson. Anyone else come down last time? No, it doesn't look like it. So that's interesting. Up.
Oren is still...
he might have hit the wall. He's still, got the right sides up on that car. So that's... There might be more to that. That's disappointing for him. He's had an engine problem. That's what's happened. That's a terrible shame for him. He was running inside the top 10. That's a terrible break for Jared Oren and for NS Racing, because he was running quite well again. It's going to be... Well, we haven't had that many mechanical issues this year, and all of a sudden we've had 3 today. So, funny how that works. As Allen now closing in. So, here we go. It looks like Miller's going to pit. Allen's going to run the high lane. There he goes. So the 48 pits. 14 and 96 stay out. So, I reckon we probably take fuel only. Because Colin Denton also comes down in the 21.
Just have to see what they opt for as they roll into their pit stall. But I think, this late on in the race, you don't really want to be taking any more tyres. It's just not worth it with the time that's left. But we'll see what Miller does. No.
He's taking tyres. He's taking tyres. The 21 is taking tyres as well. Allen and Watson are staying out long. Rowe is in. There goes Brandon Bent staying out. You got Gwar, you got Davis. You saw Denton and the 40 of Rogers there. There's the 48. He's done. So, now what do you do? I mean, you got less than 5 to go. So, we'll see here with the 14 and the 96. And can anybody stretch it is now, I think, a very real thing that could happen. As now, Allen and Watson come in. And the thing that's not benefiting them, look at who's in front. You got Cruz and Sustre, and look at how much they're being held up there.
Well, that really held them up
there. Look at that. That really hurts. Miller got that clean run on pit road. That's a really bad position for that to happen. Everyone is coming in.
And
Brandon
I think that may,
up.
just looking back to the first pit stop, that may have been what happened possibly with Allen, with drivers coming out of the pits on the first stop and getting held up there. It's just a gas and go. Yeah, just a gas and go. So that was the case with the 1496. Brandon Ben, I said, came down. He actually, stayed out. He actually didn't. He came down. Where is Dawson Miller? There's Rowe. I think Miller's come out in front of those guys. There's the 48. So now he's got right sides. That will benefit him, but he is going to come out at least behind Allen. He may... don't know if he's going to get out ahead of the 96. Bryce Egan is the race leader, by the way, in the 18. He's taken it with 3 to go. Here comes Miller in the 48. He's got a big run. He should get past the 96 here because he's got such a big run. But now the problem is that does he have anything? Oh, no, he doesn't. He's going to stay behind. Now, where is Bryce Egan in all this? Where is the 62? Yep, no, they're coming in. They couldn't stretch it. They couldn't stretch it there, so... It's probably worth the gamble for those guys because they're already running at the rear of the field. But Tristan Allen now in the box seat to win this race because he is a long way ahead and Miller is still stuck behind the 96. So coming to 2 to go this time for Tristan Allen. And if he can bring it home and get this race win, he become the winningest driver of all time again. He get his 12th Cup Series win as Watson gets round up, I should say, by Dawson Miller. It's not going to work out for the 48, you'd think. And a bit of ironic twist of fate. Dawson Miller took the lead away from Tristan Allen on the first round of pit stops with that undercut. And Tristan Allen jumps the 48 by going fuel only. So the white flag's in the air. 1 lap to go for Tristan Allen and DW Motorsports. Looking for his 12th Cup Series win. And his 2nd consecutive win here at Texas. One here in Season 5 a few years ago now. But he has delivered again. He's been very, very quick. And the strategy has played to perfection as Miller... Well, he's going to run out of time. He gave it everything he could, but he's going to run out of time. And Tristan Allen for DW Motorsports, the reigning champion, gets his 12th Gratton Cup Series win. He wins the Wurth 400 at Texas. The margin was less than a second in the end as Miller charged home, but he ran out of time. He finishes 2nd. Benny Watson, good day today, finishes in the 3rd. Rowe 4th. Denton 5th. Brandon Bent ended up 6th at the end of all that. Pretty good result, all things considered, for the 27. Nice drive from him.
Rogers, Gore, Davis, and the 98 of Steinbach makes up the top 10. The race win goes the way of Tristan Allen in the number 14. His 12th Cup Series win and his second in a row at Texas. You see the final results on your screen right now. Tristan Allen, the race winner in the number 14, and that's a big, big win for him. And he will jump up to second in the championship, I think, on the back of that. I think he's done enough to surpass Dawson Miller. So we'll calculate the points in a second, but Allen the winner, Miller second, Watson, Rose and Denton. Good day for Colin Denton, it should be said. Finishing 5th in the 21. It's a very interesting finish, and I know that kind of broke your heart there a little bit, Isaac, there at the end.
Yeah, I mean, Miller, I think the idea was there, just it was executed way too late in the race. And it was shown like he was catching up pretty quick on that 14. The 14 just played the strategy to perfection, honestly, and he was quick all race long and had that pace even when he was behind other cars. So yeah, all credit to the number 14 team. They really showed up.
Absolutely. So for the second year in a row, he wins this race and gets that 12th win, that elusive 12th win, because there have been a few drivers, Dawson Miller, another one of those, that have also won 11 races. It was a matter of who's going to get the 12th, and it ended up being Tristan Allen, who was the first one there. You see we saw the results as well on your screen. Eli Bright with that issue on pit road, you would have seen what happened. Not sure what happened because we haven't got to that yet, but the 95 finishing 39th today. Jared Oren with an ignition as well. That's a devastating blow for the 99 team. You see the championship standings on your screen. I was wrong. It was Dawson Miller who actually does move up to second in points. Allen will be third in points. The margin remains the same. Gore still 24 points ahead of the field. Brandon Bent moves up in the championship as well. Alexander Rowe moves up 8 positions in the 51. So the points very, very interesting to say the least. And still so much of the season left to go. We look further along. Eli Bright, by the way, dropped 10 positions. He was actually tied with Kian Raleigh for 11th in points, I think. Raleigh should get that tiebreaker. Watson gains a lot of ground, but still 56 back. And a fair bit in terms of the season left to go, Isaac. But still a very, very interesting race here at the Texas Motor Speedway. And I reckon we saw a glimpse of who's going to be really competitive here in this championship.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's definitely pretty close, at least with that top 3: Allen, Miller, Watson, 3 different teams. Yeah, it's quite exciting to see where this season's going to go, and yeah, it's still very early on. Obviously, I think there's even more drivers that might even show their hand sort of as we go along, but it'll be interesting to see whether Gore can hold this early lead in the championship. He's got a few pretty fast competitors to try and fend off.
Absolutely, and be interesting to see next week. We continue our kind of intermediate run. We got a couple more races in terms of intermediates. Up next, we got Oregon, the Lumen 400 up in Woodburn, Oregon. So first ever Cup race there, but we have run SRL and GRL there previously. So that will be a fun race, I'd be willing to say, and looking forward to seeing how that one will go. That one being a 66 lap race there in Oregon. So thank you to Isaac Nichols for being a part of the call today, and looking forward to next week at the Oregon Speedway for the Lumen 400. So for Isaac Nichols, I'm Stuart Gratton, signing off here from the Texas Motor Speedway.